Hi everyone, it's Liz here. Happy Wednesday. Now, today's topic for our Facebook Live is one that comes up a lot. Now, people will often say when your child is struggling, the best way to fix everything is to find their strength, help them to go for that, and then once they know their strength and their passion, everything will be absolutely fine. Whoops, my video is wobbling. But how do you find your child's strength? How do you know when your child's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10 what their actual strength is going to be as they get older? So today I put together 3 ways that you can use to try and determine what your child's strength is. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes that strength doesn't really come to the fore until they're in their late teenage years or even as an early adult where they're actually trying new things and giving things a shot. So to actually try and preempt what their strength might be, today I've got 3 options for you. The first one is to have a look at what your child does in their spare time. Now, I'm talking about the time where they have absolute control over what they're doing. What is it they choose to do? Do they choose to cook? Do they choose to be outside adventuring? Do they choose to be climbing, bouncing on a trampoline? Do they choose to be playing on a Game Boy or some sort of PlayStation or something electronic? Do they like watching videos? Do they like going to the movies? Do they like spending time with their friends? Do they like fishing? Do they like going out and doing some sort of extreme sport? These are the types of things that you need to look for because these determine what it is that your child can do in their spare time that makes them happy. And people naturally move towards the things that they feel that they're strong at and that they're comfortable doing. So spare time is a really good way. Even building Lego houses and blocks and cars and planes and gadgets can give you a fair idea as to what a child is going to have a propensity to do as they get older. Now, remember, we're talking about fairly young children here. So what else can we do to help them to figure out their strengths and to help us determine what their strengths are? The next thing I think you should do is potentially ask the people around them. So ask the people who are perhaps teaching on their teaching teams. They might be sporting coaches. They might be music specialists where they go for piano lessons. They might be people who look after your child at before and after school care. They might be somebody who spends time with your child outside of yourself. If you and your husband or you and your wife are no longer together, it may be that you ask your spouse or your ex-partner what sorts of things they see that your child excels at. You can ask anyone that comes in direct quality time contact with your child. It could be a nanny, a babysitter, anyone. Just get some insights into some of the things that your child will be doing and that where they feel their strengths might lie. Another tip, here's my 3rd one. A 3rd way to try and determine what your child's strengths will be moving forward. Now, this is something we tend to do as parents anyway, but it's a really good way, and it is all about pushing your child outside their comfort zone to try new things. By new things, I'm talking about things that they wouldn't normally try. It could be going camping. It could be learning a musical instrument. It could be giving a speech at a party. It could be writing a piece of writing or a piece of poetry. Push them to have a go at things. So you've got to help them to make them feel confident whilst you push without causing too much strength. Now, what happens is if you give your child a realm of experiences as they're growing up, then they start to develop a feel for things. I'm going to tell you a funny story here. My brother, my next brother up, is I believe, dyslexic, although never ever has he been diagnosed. He's also a university lecturer in landscape architecture now. He's incredibly clever at landscape architecture. When we were young, my mum and dad, every Sunday, we either did a working bee around our house or we went on a family outing. Now that family outing might have been to the museum, it might have been to the Botanic Gardens where all the beautiful flowers and plants were, it might have been to the art gallery, it might have been for a drive through the country, it might have been a drive to visit a relative, but we always went out and we did something every Sunday. Now I remember this one Sunday, my mum and dad said, everybody in the car, we're going to the Botanic Gardens. And I remember my brother, who was a fairly challenging young whippersnapper, to say the least, he said to my mum and dad, I don't want to go to the swear word, Botanic Gardens. Now he was a teenager at this time and I remember being absolutely horrified. In fact, my dad washed his mouth out with soap and water, and I think that was more horrifying than him actually getting his mouth washed out with soap and water, because you never ever swore at my house. So he got his mouth washed out with soap and water, velvet soap I think it was. We all got piled in the car and off we went to the Botanic Gardens with him grumbling and grumping in the back, and off we went for our 40-minute drive into the city of Melbourne. The funny thing is that when school got tricky and he ended up changing schools, he ended up going to a more self-regulated style school, not as strict a school down the track. More you turned up, there was no uniform, teachers weren't on first name basis, that type of school in his older teenage years. And of course, what does he decide to do? He decides he wants to work in parks and gardens. Then he says, I think I've got to have too much of a degree to do that, so I think I'll go and be a horticulturalist. So he's gone off to what they call in Melbourne here, Burnley Horticultural College, and he gets his a diploma, I think it was, in horticulture. Then he starts running a garden maintenance business. Then he realises he's got a natural talent for designing gardens, and of course, visiting the Botanic Gardens his entire childhood, probably once every 2 months, meant that he had seen all these incredible gardens. So he actually became a high-level gardener, beautiful, beautiful designs. Then he went, I'm going to do more in this. And he starts his degree in landscape architecture. After being knocked back the first year as a mature age student, he gets in the second year. Before he's even finished the degree, they invite him back to teach part of the course. And it all went from there. So my brother went from being the least academic of our family, and he is now the most academic in our family. The one that I think has probably got dyslexia. Handwriting is like chicken scratches, but incredibly beautiful when you see it on a landscape architecture drawing. So the moral of this story, even though he didn't want to go to the Botanic Gardens on that day, those trips to the Botanic Gardens over the years actually shaped his future, because he could see a pathway where he could be outside, he could be creative, and he could do something that he absolutely loved. So you need to push your children to do a range of things. Perhaps don't push them so hard you have to wash their mouths out with soap and water because they're swearing here and there. But I tell you, he never did it again, interestingly enough. Never ever did he do that again. But that shaped his whole career. So we need to push, and we need to constantly get feedback from our children about what it is they liked or didn't like about that experience. So 3 ways to help children find their strengths. 1 is to watch what they like to do in their spare time. 2, ask the people around them that get to watch them in all the things they do. Sports, music, arts, performing arts, school. Ask all those specialists. And 2, give them a little push to try new things and see what comes of it. I hope you have a super day, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.